Can you just film this too, just for shits and giggles?
Because a blooper reel is always fun. And I didn't lose my horns. Oh, oh no! I lost my horns! Oh no! Oh no!
I didn't.
Hey everyone, my name's Lynn and this is my first official episode of No LARPing Matter. Yay! I am really sorry that it has taken so long for me to get out. It's one of those things where I filmed a whole bunch of stuff and then I hated it when I watched it, and then I filmed again and then I hated that, and I filmed again and I hated that, and then I shut the laptop and didn't look at it for a while, and then I just got to a point with the help of my friends and my LARP group where I was just getting harassed all the time to put out the damn episode and to not stress and to not be so critical. So this is me not stressing and not being critical. Where I'm coming from, so that you know why I guess I'm doing this and what kind of human creature is sitting in front of you delivering this info. I'm a drama teacher and I have been a drama teacher now for nearly 8 years, and I've been LARPing for probably a little bit longer than that, I think. But over the last few years I have been fortunate enough to assist in running one of the biggest LARPs in New South Wales, Cicadia. So I'm coming at it not only from a player perspective, but also a game admin perspective, or a dungeon master or a game master perspective, but also as someone who's got some acting training behind them, and that will come in handy in later episodes when we talk about improv and character creation. So what is LARP? In its bare bones, for those of you who have never heard of the term before or have never done it before, LARP is live action roleplay. It's Skyrim, but for realsies. So instead of you sitting there with your remote, jiggling your thumbs and playing your character on the screen, you actually get up and you are your character. It's D&D for real. You get together with a bunch of friends, bunch of strangers, bunch of friends, somewhere in the middle, and you, as your character, pursue goals or objectives within a given fictional setting, and game masters or administrators or whatever they want to call themselves, like me, create the world, create the setting, and usually put out objectives for you to do as a means of facilitating your own roleplay experiences. So I know for our games, you can chase the objectives that the admin set out for you, but they are there primarily to give you guys a springboard and a starting point. And a lot of LARPs are like that. Not all, but some. So I've been trolling the internet, and for those interested in where LARP originated, from what I've been able to find, LARP seems to sort of originate somewhere in the 70s, but not in any one place. It's sort of sprung up all over the place, and every place has its own different version of it. From what I've been able to find, Dagohia has been the first recorded LARP. I'm pretty sure I'm saying that right. And I think that was in America from memory. I really should have written this down while I was researching. Sorry, I'll do that next episode. But yeah, so LARP is a mixture of play and improvisation and melodrama and commedia and historical reenactment and military simulations, and there are so many different kinds of live action role plays. We have live action role play, as is. That usually is a mixture of combat sport and storytelling and performance, so combat / acting mushed together and telling a cool story. There are live action battle games, which are primarily games where you can kit up, you can go in your armor or your fantasy garb and you can play a character, but it's mostly focused on battle games, so things like capture the flag, or escort missions where you have to escort a target from one end to another and you have people coming in and trying to assail the target or your victim. And there are also games called parlor LARPs, which are purely storytelling, more improvisational acting. There are some mechanics, so for example in Vampire, which is a Vampire the Masquerade, which is a parlor LARP, there's a particular power that allows me to become invisible and go and listen in to people's conversations. And when I go and do that, I actually have to walk over next to them, just quietly let them know what I'm doing, and they have to carry on as normal. In those kind of LARPs, combat is usually resolved with a scissors, paper, rock system, or another kind of system where your skill points kind of measure up against each other, and the person with the most or the least, depending on the system, wins. There are a bajillion different types of genres as well. Whatever your fangirl or fanboy thing is, there's probably a LARP for that. I know myself of high fantasy LARPs, low fantasy LARPs, sci-fi LARPs, post-apocalyptic LARPs. There's a piratey themed LARP down in Melbourne as well. And whatever the genre, you can probably find a LARP somewhere in the world that is right up your alley. There are a bunch of different event types as well. So some events run for a few hours, some run for a few days, some can run for a week. I know most of the Sydney LARP groups that I'm familiar with run for a few hours on weekends or Friday nights. Cicadia, we have weekenders, so we run over 3 or 4 days a couple of times a year. But then events like Swordcraft down in Melbourne, they run a week-long fantasy event, and it's pretty awesome, having been there myself. You may have seen Role Models, you may have seen Knights of Badassdom. It's like that, and it is so much fun. Let me show you.
So I'm actually at LARP now. This is Cicadia. We're a LARP in New South Wales, and we're a high fantasy LARP, and we are a role play game primarily. But as you can see, there is some battle going on. There are 2 different types of games primarily. You've got your live action fantasy role play, which is essentially a bit of combat with more role play to it, and then you have what we call battle games, which are more biffing on, like what's going on in the background here, but biffing on in costume essentially. So LARP has a whole heap of different mechanics. You can probably see some spell tags being thrown around. This is representative of magic. There's probably some healing going on back there as well. You can see someone out of action up there. They've just been healed. So essentially, we've all seen the lightning bolt, lightning bolt, lightning bolt video, and that's actually what LARP is. So this is LARP. I'ma fight you. Good.
Wait, who's she fighting?
Everyone. Hold! That is LARP. Beautiful.
So that was LARP, and as you can see, it's a lot of fun. It's more than a little bit entertaining and exciting. Requires some degree of cleanup afterwards, depending on your kind of character. And I just yeah, that'll do. Okay, now I'm human again and not Gideon. That's LARP in action, and for me, I have to admit, when I first started LARPing, kind of thought it was a bit silly. You know, I had acting training and I felt a bit dumb doing it, and that didn't stop me. As you can see, I'm still LARPing, and I help run a LARP now. So it's one of those things where if you're on the fence about doing it, I say give it a go. Do it! You have no obligation to continue to do something you're not enjoying, but I guarantee you, if you give it a few goes, you're going to enjoy it, and you're going to keep going back, and you're going to wish that you had been given a whole bunch of advice before you started, and that's what I'm here for. First things first. I needed that. Prepping for your first LARP event. As an admin, I get a lot of questions about what do I need to do for my first LARP. Our page is inundated with first timers asking us what they need to bring, what they need to do, where do they get started. Our community group is always getting asked, you know, hey guys, I'm new. Can anybody tell me where to begin? So this is Lynn's pro tips for LARPing and getting into it. Do your research. Read absolutely everything that the LARP group has to offer on their Facebook group, on their website, on their wiki, whatever platform they use. Check their Instagram too. Check their YouTube channel if they have one. Cicadias is coming. And what that will do is it will give you a wealth of background knowledge about the world, about the rules, about character creation, about the logistics, about what you need to bring on your first day. And check the Facebook groups. People comment, people ask questions. I recommend, as you're going through the documentation that the group has, write down some questions as you go. You may find that those questions are answered as you go through the documents. Those documents can be rather long, but I know groups try to keep it to what you need to know. But go through them, read them, write down anything that you're unsure of, write down questions as you go, write down stuff that sounds awesome that you might want to include for your character, because it will save you going back through it a bit later and losing it and not remembering. Most LARP communities are absolutely amazing and friendly and such lovely people. Everyone is super keen to help someone who's starting out for the first time, or someone who's been LARPing forever and just is trying this particular LARP for the first time. Everyone wants to help, but in terms of official questions about cost, about is this concept okay, you're better off sending the administrators or the game masters or the folks who run the game a message through the official channels so that they can get to it in a timely manner. Okay, so the fun bit. Once you've found out everything you can about the world, about what's required, create your character. It's the hard bit. Don't worry about rocking up on your first day and not knowing certain things about your character. That's okay. You can make them up as you go. Just try and remember them later. But creating a character, you will be guided by the mechanics or the character creation guides that most of the LARP groups do have. If they don't, just if you're concerned, kick your concept to an organizer and they should say yay or nay. But if you're following the documentation set out, you should be all right. I'm going to do an episode on getting into character, creating a character, and going really, really into depth with that. But the basics, figure out where they come from within the world, figure out why they're in the place that the LARP is set, give them a couple of motivations or things to do that they can focus on while they're carrying on with other objectives, and pick a costume and a name. If you're having trouble building a character, find a cool costume first and then work backwards. We call that backward mapping. So you start with the end result and you go backwards. Showing up at your first LARP. So, you've done all your research, you've read all the things, you've done all the stuff, you've got the costume, you've got the name, you've got the character backstory. Now you got to go. When you get there, first thing you should do as a newbie is, hi, I'm so-and-so. Where can I find the organizers? Maybe don't smile like a sociopath like I just did. But, you know, say hello, talk to the people in the car park. Everybody was a newbie at one point. Everybody had that experience of rocking up to a LARP on their first day, not knowing anybody. Sometimes they were lucky enough to go with a friend or have friends there, but everyone was a noob once upon a time. Some LARPs run newbie training. Cicadia runs newbie training, and for us, if you're a newbie, you have to participate in newbie training, so we can run you through the rules and make sure you know what you're doing with a weapon and make sure you're safe, even if you've LARPed before. So make sure you pay attention and participate in newbie training. The biggest thing I can say about showing up at your first LARP is get into it. Actually get in there and have fun, because let's be honest, that's what we're all there for. This is just a series of hints, tips, bits of advice based on my own experiences as a LARPer, as a player, someone who runs a game, and also as a performance practitioner, drama teacher, something fancier than just drama teacher, I suppose. These are things that I personally believe can enrich your experience at LARP and enrich the experience of others. Our LARP group has a rule. We have rule number 1. If you go to Cicadia, you just said it out loud. But basically, don't be a douche. Treat people with respect, treat people with courtesy. Just don't be a bad human. Be a good human. Don't break character if you can help it. Breaking character can be infectious. When one person says something out of character, it usually spirals out of control. And then everyone sort of has to go and get back into character. I've literally done that in the middle of a LARP field to try and get back into character. Stay in character all the time, as much as humanly possible, because it will enrich your own experience and the experience of others as well. Bitty, don't sit there and tell me about your character. Show me your character. Be your character. It's much more engaging. Say yes to things. LARP is not a game for lone wolves. You will find that difficult. You will have more fun if you can make a character who will interact with folks and who looks for opportunity to interact with people. Even if you really want to make the edgiest edgelord that ever edged, and I've done this, make them relatable and personable in some way or no one will care. Okay, you have to interact with people at LARP. It's really, it's not a solo sport, as I've said before. It's really difficult to run solo at LARP. I'm so lonely. Don't hog the plot. LARP is collaborative storytelling. You're not going to be the center of attention all the time, and that's okay. Don't stress. It doesn't mean you're not going to have an amazing game in an amazing amount of time. Work with the others around you to tell an awesome story. If somebody looks like they've got cool story stuff happening, see if you can facilitate that. Give someone else an awesome experience. They will love you for it. Don't label your character. Similarly to show, don't tell. Don't say you are a mighty warrior or a shifter slayer if you can't kill stuff. Just get into the mindset of the character and role play. I asked my followers on my No LARPing Matter Facebook page what they wish they'd known or advice that they wished they'd been given before they started LARPing, and I promised that I would read out their advice, and this advice is actually awesome and straight from the mouths of LARPers. So Sarah says, I wish I had known how approachable people are, and also that it's okay to only have a roughly sketched out character and to let them grow organically. Callum said that he wished he had taken all of his preconceived ideas and notions about their character and what LARP will be like and put them to one side until you've been and participated as a new and basic character a few times. Becky sort of went, I wish I'd actually known the kind of things that I could have done in my first game. She said that she remembers sort of standing around awkwardly, not knowing what to do for a while when she started. So in those situations, there are usually NPCs or, in our game, admin characters you can go and talk to if you're not sure what you're doing. Go and talk to those people. That is my biggest bit of advice. Rochelle says that it's okay not to be in control of a situation, and the unpredictable nature of how others react and what will happen next is a huge part of the fun, and I agree. She also says that you don't have to be a good fighter to have a good time and to have a good role play. You can make in-character reasons up for why you can't physically do something out of character. Her character, for example, prefers not to fight unless she has to, because part of her culture is sort of more upper class and a bit more removed from the nitty-gritty and nastiness that is combat. But she'll fight if she's got to. She'll defend herself. But she prefers to sort of play more of a strategist and plan the attacks and then make other people do the thing. And that ties in really, really well with what Rochelle can do out of character. And that's an awesome thing. Natasha says that if she could go back in time, she would tell herself these things. Don't put pressure on yourself. You don't have to be a good fighter to be a LARPer. I wish I'd known that too. Lucinda says that One thing she has found helpful is to have characters that allow her to play different games. So one character could be a chill non-combatant who's not part of a faction, or could be, it doesn't matter. But another character could be a fighting maniac who only wants to start trouble. So if you want to have a break from some biff, or you're injured, you can switch and chill and maybe focus on roleplay. Taylor says that, I wish I had known costuming wise to wear something with pockets or pouches and belts. Pro tip, get a costume with pockets, buy a pouch. Get a frog for your weapon as well. Somewhere to put your weapon. It's really, really frustrating having to walk around holding a sword all day. I mean, sometimes it's kind of cool, but can be frustrating. James says, something he always tells new players is you don't need a character super thought out for your first time. It's perfectly fine to be basic. Super good advice. I wish I had known that I was going to become this addicted to LARP. I know that sounds like a really, really cheesy thing to say, but I became addicted very, very quickly. Spent a lot of money and a lot of time on LARP, and I have zero regrets. My only regret is that I didn't start sooner. So I really hope this episode has been helpful. It was a long one. Most of my episodes are probably going to be sort of hitting the 15-20 minute mark. Sorry. I mean, yay if you liked it. Sorry if you didn't. Hopefully I'll do better next time. When I figure out how the lighting that my friend Avi sent me, I'll set that up and it'll hopefully be better lit. But also hopefully it sounds better this time than my other live broadcasts and stuff, because I have a microphone now. But anyway, thank you so much for tuning in. I really hope this has been helpful to at least one person. Comment, send me messages. I'm super happy to hear from people. And I want to know what you want. Tell me what you want to see and I'll make it happen as best as I can.